Boom. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, this episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the internet's leading provider of audio entertainment. Over 100,000 titles of awesomeness available on Audible. And what is Audible? Audible is essentially books, radio shows, old lectures, stand-up comedy, audio entertainment, and a fantastic resource for audio books, including our friend Scott Sigler's wonderful novels, fantastic fantasy, science fiction, doom novels, and Scott just couldn't be a cooler guy. Nocturnal is an excellent selection from the Scott Sigler collection, and that's available at audible.com, and you can get one book for free if you go to audible.com/Joe. You can get one free audiobook and 30 free days of Audible service. It's just a fantastic resource. So many fascinating books, so many really interesting forms of audio entertainment that are available at audible.com, and it's just a really great thing to have if you're getting on a plane, if you're commuting every day. It turns all that nonsense of being in your car or being stuck in a plane seat to actually an entertaining experience. I guess much like podcasts. I'm sort of like competing against myself with these things. But whatever. I ain't scared. Nocturnal. Get it. It's awesome. Scott Sigler's awesome. Audible is awesome. Audible.com/Joe. And also, if you have the Whisper Sync application for the Kindle Fire HD. Kindle Fire HD is a really amazing little thing that it's like one of those readers, but it also plays movies. It does a lot of things. But with this Kindle Fire HD, you can get this Whisper Sync. And what it is an application that allows you to read your book, so you can read it at home, and then when you get in your car in the morning, the Audible version picks off exactly where you left the reading part. It's really cool. So a professional actor will read the book right where you left off reading it by yourself. Really awesome stuff. Audible.com/Joe. We're also brought to you by Onnit.com. Onnit is a human optimization website. What does that mean? That means we didn't have a better description for a website that sells cool shit that makes you work better. What we sell is kettlebells, battle ropes, all sorts of strength and conditioning equipment, all sorts of health supplements like Alpha Brain, which is a nootropic. Nootropic is a cognitive enhancing formula. It sounds like snake oil, sounds a little fishy. That's why we have, if you go to onnit.com and click on the Alpha Brain logo, we have all sorts of clinical research that backs it. We have, with references, studies, including our own study, one which we recently completed, an Alpha Brain, I can't even talk, Alpha Brain clinical trial result. Double-blind placebo, the standard method of scientific inquiry, the way you're supposed to do these things. We did one, got some positive results, and we're in the middle of doing a second one right now. All of it is much better explained at onnit.com than you get from a stuttering comedian. So go there, enjoy, check out the different foods and the different supplements like Hemp Force. We have two different flavors, Hemp Force Vanilla Acai and Hemp Force Choco Maca. Both of them are really healthy protein supplement alternatives when you're thinking about like taking a protein supplement. One of the best protein supplements you could take is hemp. It's super easily digestible by your body, and ours is very, very high in protein. The most expensive, finest protein powder that we can get, and we sweeten it with stevia, so there's very, very little sugar. Less than 1 gram or 1 gram per serving, and that's just completely naturally occurring sugar that is in the plant itself. Onnit.com, ONNIT. Use the code word Rogan and save 10% off any and all supplements. All right. Mark Kendall from Great White is here, and we're fixing to get busy. Hit the music, Jamie.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
All right. Mark Kendall, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Right on.
Thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. It's awesome.
When I hear that there's a guy out there that's a celebrity that plays pool better than me, I get very excited. And according to our mutual friend Jay Halford, he says you're the best celebrity pool player there is. That's a
I
high
mean,
compliment.
Yeah, that's a high compliment coming from Jay because he knows a lot about pool. But I mean, I don't have to be the best all the time. I mean, I'm definitely I'm capable of playing like a D player or whatever. I can just dog my brains out. But when I get going with my arm, loosened up, and I'm been hitting balls for a few days, I can get into play my speed.
Yeah, that's
you know
for
what I mean?
folks who don't know, like pool player lingo. Speed is how like a guy will say,
Yes,
"Oh,
sir.
he plays a speed." He's got a great speed. That means it, and it doesn't even mean going fast. It just means
yeah.
your game. Like
There's
how good you
it's
play.
funny in pool. There's so many different levels though. I think it goes way beyond like A player, B player, C player. I see guys that. I can't imagine playing better than this guy. If I ever got to this level, I'd like the bucket list would be totally happening. And he has to get weight from this dude and all this stuff. And it's almost confusing how many different
And what weight means is for folks who don't know the pool lingo.
handicap.
Handicap, meaning like, say if Mark and I played and Mark's an A player and I'm a B player, Mark would maybe like, if we played 9-ball, Mark would maybe like give me the 8-ball. And what that means is like he would have to make the 9-ball to win, but I could win making the 8-ball or the 9-ball. And oftentimes when you're seeing like really even big name guys match up, like I saw Rob Saez match up with Mika Immonen. They play, and Rob Saez is a top pro, but
Very
Mika Immonen had to give Rob weight, and he gave him. I think he gave him the 8-ball.
Sure.
And
that 8-ball might not show up very much on that level.
It might not. With
but
for folks who don't know, 10-ball or 9-ball, either one of them, they're rotation games, which means you play the 1-ball first, and then you go to the 2 to the 3, and then to win, you get the 10-ball in. But to win with a handicap, you could give a guy another game. Like you could give a guy. I've seen a guy like Shane Van Boenig. He gives people like crazy games. Like he'll give someone like a 2-out.
Yeah, a 2-out even. Know, I mean, if the guy can't play at all, I mean, he'll give you every ball on the table pretty much.
That means all you have to do is make the 2-ball and you win, whereas he has to make the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
okay,
7,
now
8.
imagine this: how good this guy is. Corey Dole. I
Sure.
mean, he's one of the best in the world. Shane gave him the 5 and 6 ball playing 10-ball just now up in the up north, and it was laughable. Like even Corey laughed. I can't believe it. He goes, "I guess I need the 4 and 5." What I mean?
He beat him with the 5 and 6.
He beat him, with
That's
him
so
giving him the 5 and 6 ball in 10-ball. Like it's crazy, but it really is not going to show up if he's breaking the way he does. He's going, oh, there goes my money ball, and there goes my money ball, like every game, from the chair. You know what I mean? So even though it sounds like, oh, Shane's really giving something up here, if he breaks, because that's the whole thing with him. Well, people, some say he just breaks, good or whatever, but that, that's crap. This guy plays behind the break like crazy good, but that break is big when you get on that level of, he's pro level.
Yeah.
If some guy is breaking like God and getting shape on the one and all this stuff, and another guy is a dry breaker, but he plays like God too, the guarantee the guy that's the breaker is going to destroy the guy.
Inside lingo.
Yeah.
Dry breaker, breaking like God. What it's about is the initial shot on pool is the break shot. You smash the balls hard, and the balls go flying into the pockets, ideally. If they don't, you spread the whole table out, and then you leave a lot of shots for your opponent. The problem with a guy like Shane Van Boening is he breaks so good that, almost every break, he's making 1, if not 2. I've seen him make 5 balls on the break playing 10-ball.
And he gets shape on the one. That's the whole thing.
Yep.
And players complain about that, and I don't understand it. I'm like, why are you complaining because this guy breaks good? The answer to me would be work on your break.
Yeah.
Don't complain because some other guy's great.
Well, you're making too much sense there, Mark.
Am I?
Yeah, you're making too much sense. You got to give people the opportunity to just complain about shit. That's what they like.
Well, I complain about stuff
break.
too. I know this guy is breaking. He's a fag.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because because you're such a really good pool player, is there's something involved in like trying to get like really good at pool or really good at anything that requires an incredible amount of time, where it's like the level of commitment that you have to get really good at that. I guess it's got to be kind of similar to guitar playing in a way, like the amount of practice that you have to put in, the level, and that there's just levels and levels and levels to this stuff.
I've had different loves in my life. I mean, I've always gone back to the guitar because my family there's just so much music in my family. My grandpa was a touring piano player. My dad is a jazz trumpet player. My mom sang music in the house all the time. But at the same time, I still played baseball from the time I was 8 till I was 18, and my dad's dream for me was to not be the big, star musician, because he just thought there was no chance at that, but to be the LA Dodger, you know what I mean?
But you thought there was a chance at that more than there was you must have played really good ball.
I can tell you, no, I really didn't. I mean, I was a really good pitcher. Probably when I was like in Pony League, I was kind of known as one of the top pitchers. My arm started hurting when I was around 17, like after 3 innings. I would have my dad come out and take me out. Usually the guy comes out and says, "Oh, how you feeling?" and all that kind of stuff. No, I didn't wait for all that. I told him, put me on first. My arm's hurting again. I threw curveballs when I was like 11 years old, and everybody said, "Oh, God, he's going to throw his elbow out." That never happened. What happened was from fastballs, my arm got kind of jacked, So after 3 innings, it was hurting. Not to mention, you have to be such a standout player to get scouted by some, by pro, scouts. Your numbers have to stand above the entire league.
Right.
I had 2 guys on my own team when I was, this is 16, 17, 18-year-olds. 2 guys on my own team hit more home runs than me, ran faster, threw harder, you know what I mean? So my chances and I even told my dad this when I made the decision I'm going full-time music and, kind of say la vie to baseball, is I have 0 chance to make it in baseball. None whatsoever.
Is that true? Did you really have 0 chance, or would it have to be something that you completely abandoned everything else and just threw your life at baseball? It seems like if you're really...
I did. I mean, I really... I could have played maybe a different position, but I really wasn't... I didn't have enough power to, I think... Who's going to skip over the 2 guys that are better than me on my team to go to man number 3 and let's sign him because he's just cool or something?
Well, couldn't you get better though? Isn't it possible to get better?
Yeah. Maybe I could have dedicated myself, and I do look back and say I wish I would have worked out with maybe some light weights, maybe gained some strength in my arm.
You didn't work out at all?
Not really.
Well, there it is.
Pull ups, stuff that's PE stuff like that, but I didn't do any. I didn't really train. And back, we didn't have all the, the video and the instruction and the pros coming camps and all that stuff. It was just like go play, and whoever had the natural ability, he rose above everybody. So
it's just such a different game today with all the strength and conditioning.
Even Little League,
everywhere. Yeah.
Even Little League. I'm watching these 12-year-olds. They look like small professionals. All their mechanics are perfect. Fundamentals at the plate, they look like little tiny pros,
Well, I'm fascinated by strength and conditioning programs now. I mean, it's one of the things, being a mixed martial arts commentator and getting to see the improvement that some fighters have had by incorporating strength and conditioning programs, and getting to see like how scientific they've become and how, I mean, the different things that they work on. Like I watched a video last night with Phil Davis, who's one of the top UFC light heavyweights.
Right.
And he was doing this weird exercise. It was this balance exercise where he's balancing on one foot that's on a roller, and they're throwing a ball at him, and he's catching it with one hand and throwing it back while he's balancing. It's like you would think, like, what is this? Like, what are they doing? They're working on foot strength and stability and balance and movement, and it's just... There's so much science involved in strength and conditioning and getting better at athletics now.
Maybe, when I hear you speak, maybe there would be a chance for me to improve if I really got into, working out and stuff. My the singer that's been in my band for like 4 years now, his name's Terry Alous, and he's been in martial arts for like 27 years or something. He did jiu-jitsu, judo, kickboxing. He's worked with Boz Rutan.
Ah, cool.
He trained with him. He's an instructor, and so he's got to get me going here.
Well, it's a great thing to do just to make your body
mental
feel better.
body feel good. I bet it would really help. My nerves kind of get rattled sometimes, and I think it's because I don't work out enough. I don't have a strict routine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking supplements and all this stuff. I hear your commercials about the different supplements. And
well, I don't know if we have anything that would really help nerves, but I definitely think that exercise does.
Exercise helps your nerves. I know it does.
For sure.
I have been dedicating myself to working out kind of at home, but I'm not like running. I'm not doing enough cardio. I'm doing tons of sit-ups and arm stuff and push-ups and stuff.
Just what, man, get an elliptical machine and just put on a television show that you enjoy. It's a great way to do it. Just get I have an elliptical machine. I put it on and I put fights on. And I watch the fights while I just do the elliptical.
Yeah, just not even thinking about it.
It's just automatic. I can't.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to start getting into some cardio.
It's one of those things where you force yourself to do it and then, write it on a schedule that you have to do it X amount of days. And then when those days are over, you'll feel the improvement. And then that becomes addictive. That feeling that
I need to be addicted to that.
Yeah, it's easy to be addicted to bad things. But being addicted to something good is something that it's really difficult to force your discipline, force your body to go and I'm going to be addicted to drinking fresh squeezed juices, vegetable juices every morning, and then taking a yoga class every day. But if you did do that, God,
it'd be incredible because I'm very compulsive. When I get into things, I have to become the greatest on earth with it. And, I'm just I've always kind of been like that. So, and I actually had an alcohol problem. I was a beer drinker, and go ahead and throw it low on the food chain, but I got just as much pain as some other people from the abuse,
Right. Oh, listen, alcohol is alcohol, whether you get it in the form of whiskey or whether you get it in the form of 12 beers a night.
Yeah.
It's alcohol.
You still wake up shaky and you're all screwed. And I was able to get away from that and, kind of do other things and, help people that are struggling and just, channeling my energy in more positive areas. But
do you find that, I've met a lot of people that are really great at things and really impulsive and really, just the type of people that throw themselves into it the way that you describe. And I'm sure you must have had to do that to get so good at guitar, and I'm sure you did that to get really good at pool. But do you find that that's sort of like a part of your mind that can kind of get sidetracked and fucked with a drug? And then that becomes the thing that you become impulsive about. That becomes the thing that you get addicted to.
Well, that's why they say they call it somebody that gets really addicted to a drug wasted talent because they're so good at something and they're letting this drug of choice or whatever ruin this blessing that they've received that makes them great at something. And I was lucky to be able to get away from it. But as far as the guitar goes, I played since I was 9 years old. It's just I did other things too. Mm-hmm. But when I was about 15, I was pretty obsessed with it. I would go to the liquor store literally with it strapped around me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, playing the acoustic guitar, playing Santana. When I was 14 years old, I was literally in a band, and we only played Santana.
Wow.
And not even realizing that would be considered a tribute band. I just go, no, Carlos Santana's the greatest, and so let's just play his stuff, And but yeah, I just, I've kind of always been that way, compulsive. But the difference with the guitar is I loved it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just compulsive energy. It was because I loved music. I've always, even when I was a little kid and sitting by the hi-fi or whatever, singing along to Girl from Ipanema, my mom and dad, he sings in key. He's like, he hears it, It's like the melodies are the notes that are coming out, which I've had this ear from my parents. I mean, my dad had perfect pitch. He can hit piano notes and can tell you what they are and stuff like that. So I have this ear. I could hear it. And when I first got records, that was one of my first albums right there. The
Jimi
Hendrix Experience. And I got Cream, Disraeli Gears, and The Doors, The Strange Days. And when I listened to that music, I only heard the singer. I literally wasn't even listening to the guitar. I was just singing the melody. You know what I mean? But then I started being able to pick up the chords on my guitar, and I was very young, like 10, you know.
No training? You just learned how to do it on your own?
I took a lesson from a guy, but I've only had one lesson. I've learned from a lot of people, just friends of mine. Hey, man, show me that, you know, or whatever.
Right.
But as far as a true sit down, pay the guy, you know, okay, show me how to play or whatever. It was this guy who was in this like surf band when I was like probably 10 or 11. And he was teaching me like Tom Dooley and, you know, the stuff I didn't want to really
What's Tom Dooley?
Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry.
Never heard it.
Yeah, but it's just an old song, you know. You know, kind of like Jimmy Crack Corn and I Don't Care type stuff. You know what I mean? But I guess, you know, you have to learn that kind of stuff. But I was just uninterested. I probably, you know, when I tell kids that are coming up now, I say, you know, it's great if you got a good ear because you're like halfway there. If you learn how to read and you know all the theory and everything, plus you have the great ear, you're going to have it up on just about everybody. You know, those are the guys. But to have that natural, I don't know, I have a natural feel for music, like, and those are the people that inspired me to play. Are, you know, guitar players that just play from the heart. They play notes because it's how they breathe. It's how they feel. It's, you know, it's coming out of the pores of their skin. It's from the heart, the soul, whatever you want to call it. But those are the guys that made me want to play. I mean, Billy Gibbons doesn't bend notes the way he does because it said it on a piece of paper somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's something you feel, and I've been fairly good at that, feeling, you know, notes and stuff, and people have, you know, made comments about the way I play and stuff. But it's just, you know, it's kind of the gifts from like I said, from my parents and my grandpa and everybody.
Just sort of genetics. And...
Yeah, it is. Because I don't think you just, you know, it's not me. I just don't believe that I can just be born hearing music that well unless it bled into me somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right. I think there's definitely some in just born talent that some people have. It's just a matter of whether or not they pursue it. And there's also that thing that we were saying, the negative aspect of it is that same sort of the personality trait that gets you to be able to sit down and really explore music for hours and hours at a time, which is what it takes to be a great guitarist, can many times manifest itself in addiction and manifest that same sort of just throwing yourself at something and being completely engulfed in it for whatever reason. A lot of times manifests itself in either alcoholism or drug addiction or what have you. It's so common.
No, it is. Yeah, I always kind of wondered. I mean, I just think an addict is just an addict. I really don't think the music has that much to do with it, but I think a trigger for you know, like say a recovering addict or whatever, he's out on the road, he's in this band, he has all this pressure from everybody telling him how great he is and everything, because that can become pressure. When people are telling you you're the greatest band on earth and you're the best guitar player in the world and all this stuff, you kind of just don't want to take it serious, and it can drive you crazy. And I think that causes some people to numb themselves
really
to the reality.
So this is fascinating.
I found that in a few instances, this friend of mine, he was totally, every time he would get close to being signed, having a great opportunity, he would just sabotage it with alcohol, and you know what I mean? But what he'd tell you, I mean, I could see it from afar. I knew what he was doing. He was trying to sabotage it because he was afraid kind of the pressure of being out there in the limelight. So
people are afraid of success.
Yes,
that's really
absolutely. Absolutely. But I just think, you know, it's mind-blowing that somebody fights their whole life to get somewhere and they get there and die out of a heroin overdose. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what the analogy would be, but I that was just one of my thoughts, is that it could be that the pressure of just being in the music world and stuff, and having all this going on, because it does seem it seems as if it happened like that, even though you've been grinding in the clubs and for years and years. It's like all of a sudden you're in an arena setting, you got cameras all around, microphones, people coming up to you. I'm just making a guess at this. I don't know what you think. Why people kill themselves, with drugs. Maybe it has nothing at all to do with that. Maybe they're just addicts. You could strip away all the music and they're going to die of a heroin overdose anyways.
I've got a lot of theories about it. And I personally think that the environment of celebrity on that level, to be in a band like Great White, fucking gigantic, huge arena band, and you're fucking on every magazine and you're on the radio every day, and that pressure, the kind of pressure and recognition is totally alien for a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, the only people that ever got that kind of attention in the past were kings. I mean, even the leaders of tribes, they just never got that kind of attention. I just think it's completely alien to the human race and didn't exist until mass media was invented. Until the beginning of the 20th century, when they figured out how to broadcast things in movies and in songs and records and then music videos and what have you. That is not a part of human history. It's not normal. It may be normal to be the center of attention in a small group or even a large group, but those people know you and you're talking in front of them. If you're speaking in front of a group of people that want to hear your opinion on things, or if you're a leader, those are all normal things. But to be on a fucking stage playing guitar and 20,000 people are going, wow! That's alien. It's alien.
I was, a very shy person. I kind of worked on that over the years, but to go out in front of 300,000, which has happened a few times.
300,000.
Yeah, we played in front of 300,000 people with a lot of bands, like like Iron Maiden.
Who cares how many other people were there? You played in front of 300,000 people.
And actually, believe it or not, I was not even remotely scared about it. I just went out and totally handled it. But if you put me in a setting like this, like with maybe 10 people around the room, then that makes me nervous. I'm serious. I don't know why
that's sort of the same way with comedy. I mean, I've never done anything with 300,000 people, but one of the things that will make you nervous more than anything is going on stage in front of two folks. Yeah. Two people in the audience is like, oh, no.
It's hard because you don't really feel... It's just a sea of people. I mean, you're just playing. It's you don't feel like all eyes are on you or whatever. But when you're playing like at a wedding or, it's like, whoa, man. They're focusing in on my fingernails here, and
my fingernails.
You know what I mean? It's like, whoa.
I think that's what a lot of the dealing with the pressure, the reason why so many rock stars can't handle it, or actors, I think actors, it's slightly different because it's not a live performance thing, but just the accolades that they're getting, it's all the same. It's completely alien. It's just it's very, very difficult to ask a person to be able to manage something like that. Who are you gonna go to, a psychiatrist or a psychologist? They'd have never fucking experienced being on stage in front of 300,000 people.
And I actually thought about that when you were speaking earlier. I go, maybe they should have like a rock and roll psychiatrist.
Have Ozzy.
You know what I mean? Just to go see Ozzy.
Well, we just get your wife to run everything and just sit in the background, mate.
Yeah. And, my manager was actually English, and he told me one time, he goes, Kendall, don't even read your own press. Don't believe it for sure. Do not believe your own press. And it's better just to not even read it. Don't sit there and read stuff about people talking about how much feel you have and, or whatever. And if you don't take yourself too seriously, that's probably the best way to kind of cruise through your stuff. Obviously, you celebrate with your family and friends and dig it, man. We just got this cool thing and you want to share it with them. But as far as like, taking yourself too serious, I mean, it's probably best to stay away from all
It's
that.
brutal. The worst thing is talking to someone who has moderate or good success in show business, and all they want to talk about is their success in show business and all the great things that they're doing. It's like, oh my God, dude, you're fucking killing me right now. You're killing me with this stupid fucking stroke you're doing to yourself, this ego stroke. Yeah, it's also, think about that. Think about the idea of reading your own press. That's another fucking alien thing. The alien thing of reading perhaps hundreds of other people's opinions about you.
Yeah.
Valid
and then one
invalid.
guy says something bad, and you go, "Ah, fuck it, I'm gonna choke this guy."
I have a theory about that too. I think that is like snake venom, and that if you're not exposed to snake venom and you get it, it can really fuck you up because snake venom is, it's toxic.
Sure.
But if you get a little bit of it all the time, then it becomes something you're immune to. And then you go, oh, look, a shithead. Some negative asshole.
Exactly.
The thing about negative people, and this is a really important point, is sometimes they have a point and you can learn from them. Sometimes negative people say things that you don't want to hear, you don't like it, but then you read it and you go, ooh, there's something there. There's something there. This is a point there. You could use them, but for them, God, being that person is so damaging to you, to them, to the person
them.
who's being negative.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't even realize it. They think they're hurting you. Like, you
poison.
could talk
It's
shit
poison.
about a person, me, or talk shit about you all day long, but it doesn't change the fact that you're still Mark Kendall.
I know.
You're still who you are. You're still this badass fucking guitarist. They can't change who you are by saying something mean. But
No.
what they do is they change their very essence, their very energy that they're spreading out to the
Right.
universe. What they're putting out to all the people around them, to the people that come in contact with what they're projecting. They're just putting out shit. And that's a good percentage of people. If you read their blogs, if you go to their Twitter pages, if you listen to their, if someone has a negative radio show or a podcast or whatever, what you're hearing is just all this fucking horrible stuff. Nothing good, nothing positive, nothing encouraging. And that's who they are. That's the world
That's
they
who
live
they
in.
are.
It's not like they do that and then they go take yoga classes and then they're kissing puppies and hugging people all day. You don't pump out negative shit and then go out and be a beautiful, wonderful person and go, hey, that's all just show business, man. The real me is loving and kind and super cool to be around. I just act like an asshole on Twitter. No, you're an asshole,
Right.
And you can learn from assholes. You can get something from them.
But points and things. Yeah,
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I have read things that are very negative about me that maybe totally unjust, but I could say, is it possible that someone else could think like this? And could it be like, does it make sense that they could think like this? And if that's the case, if it's defensible, then I should probably work on whatever aspect of my own personality that's causing this opening to be there. Sort of like in a martial arts standpoint. If you're a bad motherfucker in jiu-jitsu, like say if you're really good at jiu-jitsu and you got a great arm drag and you're great at taking people's back and you choke people on a regular basis, but if someone gets your back, you got no defense and you tap out really quick, you need to work on that. Like that's something that you need to figure out, like, why do I tap when someone gets my back? That's real. That's a real thing. And
Totally real.
That analogy, I think, presents itself in the martial arts analogy, presents itself when you're dealing with a lot of different people that are critiquing your work or a lot of different people that are putting things out there. And they can fuck with you. I have a friend, I'm not going to name names, but he's a fighter. And he and his wife, they had a huge problem because he was like, there was negative, someone saying negative things about him and her on Twitter or on Facebook, or I forget where it was, but they were just being an asshole, just saying really mean, nasty stuff about him and his wife, the way they look and about her, the way she looks, and it was devastating to them, to the both of them. And you would think, like, here's a guy who's a fucking cage fighter, and he's fighting professionally. He's really a bad motherfucker, but the words of some 13-year-old kid where, he's waking him up in the middle of like, you fucking shithead.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've been down this road, with haters, not people that are just slightly negative or whatever, but just people that just all they do is go say you suck and you're, or whatever. That's what they do. Those people, and I've even, as a band, we've talked about it. Don't give them any energy whatsoever.
Yeah, nothing.
Just let them hate away. You know what I mean?
Good luck with that.
Because you don't want to feed back with, I'm not going to feed back with somebody that's saying something that makes no sense whatsoever.
And it doesn't change who you are.
It does change. It doesn't do anything. I'm still going to be exactly.
That's what they don't understand.
Yeah,
they think that they're going to sort of define you and somehow and minimize you.
And they're not going to come to my shows anyways.
No, of course not.
Only my fans come to the shows.
Well, not only that,
the music.
they probably want to be you. They probably had like a failed musical attempt, and they look at you and this fucking guy with simple bullshit music. I'm tired of his fucking chords. I'm tired of the way he shakes his head when he plays. Fuck that asshole. But what's really driving them nuts? What's really driving them nuts is their own personal failure.
Yeah, when's your next album coming out?
Exactly. Do you think Michael Jordan goes on YouTube videos and talks shit about people? You know what I mean? Michael Jordan's busy. He's busy
That's
being
an
Michael
excellent
Jordan.
Example.
Winners don't have time to be fucking haters on YouTube.
No.
They just don't. And
it really makes you look bad, especially a high-profile dude, fighting back with somebody.
Oh, listen, I've made that mistake before. Just thinking I was being cute. Trying to I'll show them, but then you're like, what am I doing? Like, why am I showing them? What am I trying to accomplish here? Yeah. But it's like what I did. I treated people that would say mean things to me like I would treat a heckler.
Right.
Like a heckler at a comedy club. But that's a completely different situation. True. A heckler in a comedy club, you have to address. I mean, it's being forced upon you.
I've never been involved, really seen that. I've seen a few comedians, but have you got a guy going, you suck? Or
oh, have I? Really? Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
How do you deal with that?
You just deal
with it.
Some
people, I know some comedians, they'll say things to the dude, I don't know how. Or do you just act like he's not there?
No, you can't act like they're not there. Because I came up at the Comedy Store in Hollywood, and the Comedy Store, the problem with the Comedy Store is the benefit of the Comedy Store, and that's that the insane people are running the asylum. Mm-hmm. It's all patients. The comedians run the place. The doormen are all comedians. The guy working the cover booth is a comedian. I'm not bullshitting. Everybody, the guys that seat people, they're comedians, and then the comics also go on stage. The only thing that's not a comedian is the guy that books the room. So, I mean, there's no crowd control, none. So when you would go on stage there, and you're also dealing with Sunset, Hollywood, you're dealing with a lot of people also that they have aspirations that are unrealized. They want to be famous, they want to be an actor, they want to be a musician, they want to be something. And then here they are sitting in the audience looking for something wrong with you. Or needing attention that they're not getting. A lot of those people are fucking black holes of attention. You could stuff them full of trash and meteors and everything. They're never going to fill that fucking hole. It's impossible. And so they sit in the audience, and the guys on stage, they don't even know why. They're just compelled to interrupt. They're compelled to yell out.
Sure.
Most clubs, say if you work at a real nice club, say the Improv on Melrose, which is a very nice comedy club.
Sure.
They fucking kick people out right away when you do that. If you're one of those black holes that just sucks and you just want attention, they'll touch you on the shoulder, sir, you're going to have to leave. They'll pick you up, and then they boot you out.
Let me answer this. Have you ever been totally just booed off stage? I mean, just
Oh, yeah, I've bombed. Really? I've eaten dick
Because I know
stage.
Jim Carrey has told stories where he literally, they would not let him continue his show.
Yeah, most likely it's because you suck.
Well, yeah. Well, no, what he was doing is he got away from the whole impression thing, and he was just starting to go out on stage with no material whatsoever.
Oh, you can't do that. That's
yeah.
I mean, you can if some people can do that. We do a show called Thunder Pussy. We do it sometimes at the Ice House, and the premise of the show is that the audience will yell out topics, and you will riff on it. I've done two of them.
Improv vibe, yeah.
Yeah, but it's stand-up. You're doing stand-up on these subjects, but you're going out there with no material.
That's
and
crazy.
I've done two of them. They're really fun, but the audience knows what they're getting into.
Right.
If you're going on and you're doing a show, and I don't think Jim Carrey's that kind of comedian anyway. I think Jim Carrey's a big slapsticky. I think he's very funny. His old stand-up was really good, but he's more big impressions and slapsticky, and for a guy like that to go on stage with no material.
Well, he got booed up because of it. It was actually in his bio. It was someone else talking about the show where he was going out. He was a cockroach, and he's trying to climb under the piano and doing this crazy, body contortion stuff, and just kind of winging it because that's where he kind of felt comfortable. He didn't want to become like the rich little guy that was just going to go out and do these. And supposedly he's pretty good at impressions.
He's very good at impressions.
But,
yeah,
so
he didn't want to do that, so he tried to do something else. That didn't
more
work.
of an improv thing.
Well, that just means it didn't work. I mean,
right.
he probably deserved getting booed. Look, I know that every time I bombed, it was because I sucked.
Didn't work that night. Yeah.
Yeah, every time I bombed, it was my fault.
Sure.
I mean, there's been terrible audiences, and I forget who had that line. Like it's a common line that comedians use. Like because there's a saying in comedy: "There's no bad audience."
Right.
That's bullshit. There's some fucking terrible audiences.
Yeah, sure.
But if you go on stage in that terrible audience and someone else gets them, someone else figures out how to crack the code. I mean, it just could be a really crazy Rubik's Cube that you don't know how to crack. But but when you bomb, you're bombing because you're being unsuccessful. I mean, it could be in a completely unfair environment. Like it could be a guy like Dimitri Martin, who's like a real slow burn, sort of a deadpan, very funny comedian, but very low energy. And he could maybe go on a show where there's a black guy who's singing and doing backflips and lighting his asshole on fire.
Right.
Could be some craziness. And then you ask a guy to do like real slow paced deadpan
people
comedy
don't
afterwards.
get it. They don't get it.
It's the wrong vibe. It's like, say, if Great White had to go on after, like, say, an opera singer in an opera house. It's totally
With
wrong.
all opera fans.
Yeah, totally wrong environment. And the difference in stand-up comedy than in music is, like, if someone goes to a rock club, you're going to see some rock. You're going to see a rock. You don't go and just see live music, and it could be, like, a country singer followed by a rapper followed by a death metal. You don't have that. It's like it's very clearly defined. But comedy is just comedy. You don't know what you're going to get. You go to a comedy club like the store on Sunset Strip. You're going to get 15 different comedians in a night, and all of them with different styles.
Well, in Europe, we've done shows over there that are such a wide range of people, blow your mind. And I mean, we've played with Black Sabbath, Bob Dylan. This is on the same stage, same day. You imagine it's like, okay, let's play War Pigs and go into, Stairway to Heaven. You know what I mean? It's like Bob Dylan, Black Sabbath, Iggy Pop, Buddy Guy, who's a blues guy, just full of straight-headed blues. And people went just as nuts for Dylan as they did anybody else. I mean, so the people there, they're just there to, hear great music, different styles and whatever. Over here, promoters would never take chances like that.
Right.
It has to be Scorpions, Van Halen, everything in the same kind of genre or whatever.
This was in England that you did this?
No, it was in Denmark, actually. Denmark.
Do you find that, I personally find that they're more patient and more polite in a lot of other countries than in America?
Yeah, the other thing is I did things there that I wouldn't normally never do here, like go out in the crowd and watch bands and stuff. I go, it's not like I'm Eddie Van Halen. Nobody's going to know me. So I went out and I'm watching Buddy Guy, who's influenced Hendrix and all these great,
Right.
And I wasn't really that familiar with him at that time, but he went through this segment that was about 10 minutes of, he goes, here's the stuff that Eric Clapton got, and here's the stuff Hendrix took from me, and
so he's asking for credit.
He's he was kind of milking the credit. I wasn't really that impressed by that part, but it is fact. And I guess he kind of wants people to know it's fact that because here he is, kind of not really super known, and Hendrix is a god monster, one of the greatest ever, and he was just amazing. But he wants people to know that Hendrix borrowed from him, and because he hasn't got his accolades that he thinks he's due.
He doesn't. So
he's going, hey man, if it wasn't for me, there'd be no Hendrix.
You can't do that yourself, though, right?
I don't like it. That's what I was just mentioning it. I'm not here to going on your show to bash Buddy Guy or anything.
Well, Buddy Guy's amazing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But it's just he probably doesn't have the perspective, to know that you don't need to say that, man. Everybody already knows it. I mean, I'm not a musician. I know zero about how to play music, but I'm a big music fan.
Oh, sure. Me too.
Well, you can play though.
I
mean,
play,
you're a
but
great
I'm a
guitarist.
huge music
Yeah.
fan, geek, man. When I meet my heroes, 5 years ago we did a show with ZZ Top, and their tour manager used to be our tour manager. And I go, you better hook me up with Billy Gibbons. I want to do like one-on-one hang.
Right.
I want some hang time with this boy. And he hooked it up, and the dude with the most soulful. Here's an example. Okay. I don't feel worthy sometimes of the response. Here's an example. I go to Japan. Our band goes to Japan. We get off the airplane. It's like 2,000 people screaming, and I'm going, "Hey, we're not Mike Tyson. I mean, we're not like Van Halen, or we're just this little band." But I understand it because I'm such a fan myself.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to explain to Billy Gibbons. I go, you got to understand the memories you have created for me are like so incredibly important. When I hear some of their songs, I go, The Apartment's 15 years old, playing Waiting for the Bus. I mean, I have visuals from music. I literally, a picture comes in my mind from hearing a song. And when a guy's has that much influence on me, to meet him in person and have him be soulful, down to earth, and he emailed me that night, and I didn't even get home. I didn't get the email for 2 more days. He was like, "Nice meeting you," And then when ZZ Top played in Palm Desert, that's where I was living at the time. He goes, "Hey, come on down, Mark. Bring your crew," and all this stuff. Like, the guy knows me. He remembered me. I'm just like shocked. But I get fans. Sometimes I don't feel worthy of some of the attention and stuff. I'm totally grateful, but like I said, I understand it because I am.
You're a fan.
I'm a total fan because I have my heroes. I mean, the guys that made me want to play guitar.
Do you find that that's something that some guys lose, like as they become professionals, and then as they become like better in music and become like a big time music guy, that they kind of stop being a fan of music? That happens with comedy.
I'm not really. I can only kind of speak for myself on that. I'm still friends with like a lot of guitar players that didn't make it. I was just one of the lucky ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the reason I was lucky is I tried to put myself in a position to get lucky, which is by playing more. And believe it or not, it's Van Halen that influenced that on me. They were playing more than everybody. They played 3 blocks from my house in a backyard in El Monte. I paid $1 to get in. The singer...
Wow.
Roth was blowing a tube inside of this guy's drums, and I'm going, whoa, man, these guys are I thought they were great and everything. They were playing cover songs, and they played a couple originals, I think. But what I was more impressed by, at least at that time, was how often they played. They played every single night, and I go, we got to do that if we're going to have any chance, because my thinking was if we play more than everybody, we might have to play free a lot, but if our name, we might be able to brainwash people into thinking they're supposed to like us, you know what I mean? So, and that's what happened, though. It was that persistence. It was that playing free, getting our name out. We just happened to be at the Whiskey one night playing during the week, not even a big night or anything, and the right guy was in the crowd. And he came up, gave us his card, and before you know it, we're recording, we got airplay. We don't even have a record deal. I mean, our record deal was literally borrowing $15,000 from some guy named Fred. Hey, Fred, you got $15,000? Yeah, okay. So, but we had a distribution deal. So, but this manager we had called Alan Niven, he was from England. He used to work for Virgin Records. He had signed Berlin. He signed Motley Crue, and a year before this, and then they would sell these bands off to big labels. Well, he got us on KMET when we had no deal, and no local bands were on KMET and KLOS with no deal. It was just unheard of. But that I don't know what kind of connection he had to do.
So it was
that.
just a matter of you being persistent and playing all the time, and this
Right.
guy saw. That's such an important lesson for young people who are thinking about doing something.
Sure.
Opportunity presents itself when you just fucking bust your ass.
And dream it. And dream
Dream
it.
it.
We literally dreamed things and used to pretend. I mean, we pretended standing in the living room like we were playing the Forum. The Forum, good night. You
Really?
know? Yeah. We used to pretend like we were doing interviews. Me and my singer, we used to go, so how long's the band been together? You know?
Were you guys naked when you were doing this?
We just made up things. No, we weren't naked. But we were...
That would make it extra fun.
We were getting, that could have been kind of cool, but it's that pretending. But when it becomes a reality, like I'm 6 years before I was on the Forum stage in Los Angeles, I was watching Ted Nugent swinging through this arena, and it wasn't even a possibility that I would ever be on that stage playing.
Was he on a buffalo or something when he was swinging?
He
through?
swings. I forgot where he swung like out of the crowd on this big rope. Wearing like leaves and.
Do you know him?
Oh yeah.
I want to meet that dude.
Ted Nugent is an intense. You should have him on your show.
I would love to. He passed though. I think he
Yeah.
thinks I'm a liberal.
Oh,
Because I smoke a lot of pot. I think he probably thinks I'm
Oh.
I'm anti-war. But I hunt. I also I'm into archery.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we agree on.
he's
I think he's a fascinating character.
a deep dude, and
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I just mean he's kind of a.
I mean, he is in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that he's not.
He has a lot of opinions. Let's
Yes.
just put it that way.
Well, they're well thought out. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with all of them, but they're very well thought out on his side. He's got a lot of really intense
political.
ideas when it comes to hunting and conservation and preserving the wild. He knows a lot about that. That's
Yeah.
for sure. I just think he thinks if I had him on that I would attack him. What I would do would be the complete opposite of that, honestly. Stranglehold, one of my all-time favorite songs. It's one of my all-time, like, if I'm driving around in my car and I need a good jam, I'll throw on Stranglehold, just out of nowhere, and just always picks me up.
Well, check this out. 5 years ago, we did a show with Ted in Canada, in London, Ontario. And I stuck around to watch his show because I knew one of the crew guys who used to work for us, and he took me around the stage during the day. He goes, "You're not going to believe this. All these cabinets, all these guitar cabinets on the stage are all live. Like Ted is coming out of these speakers everywhere. It's like it's not normal, like the amount of guitar. I mean, his ego's so huge, But I love that, and anyway. So
What does that mean? What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, usually, like you have your like I have 2 cabinets working. I might have 16 cabinets up there, but only,
so cabinets are these stacks of speakers?
yes,
Is that what it is?
yes.
Okay.
And usually 2. You put 2 in stereo, and it's plenty.
How many are on stage total? Like a big...
I've had up to like 16 cabinets before.
So there's 16 cabinets on stage for the whole band?
No, just for me.
Just for you?
Yeah,
Wow.
sometimes. I mean, we played a show the other day. I had 8. You know what I mean? It depends on how big the stage is, but they're not all live. Well, Ted has everywhere he goes on the stage, Ted will be there coming out of speakers.
So it's
So
not,
the
not
band,
normal.
it's just Ted, man. He wants to be loud and but it's not really normal to have working cabinets all over the stage. You have monitors and
Right.
stuff like that. But what I was going to get to that it gave me chills almost because I'm like you, I Stranglehold and
Fucking great song.
being a teenager and when that album came out and everything. But the whole band went back to the hotel and I'm on the side of the stage and he's going, how about that Great White? How about that Great White? He's going, could you feel that rock and roll spirit? He goes, they got that rock and roll spirit. Yeah. And he goes, and I can feel that rock and roll spirit in the air tonight here. Yeah. And he literally introduced the song that way. He's saying that how we had the rock and roll spirit. And he goes, and he went into Wang Dang Sweet Pin Tang. It was like, bang, gang, 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 barbecue. Yeah. And he did that. He did that for way longer than the album, you know? I mean, it's just great, man. The dude is so intense live.
Yeah, he's definitely a trip. I saw him do the national anthem at a football game. It was on television. It was fucking incredible. I mean, it was all just a guitar version of the national anthem. But people who fucking sleep on how good he is at the guitar need to watch that. Good. Oh, I mean, it's a really amazing version of the national anthem. I mean, it's just fucking incredible, and there's artistry to it. You know,
you talk about his hunting. When he first hooked up with Jack Blades, who's a friend of ours, because he's the bass player for Night Ranger, writes a lot of songs for Aerosmith and Motley Crue. He's done a lot. He's a big songwriter. And anyways, he made this band called Damn Yankees, which he had Ted Nugent playing guitar. When Ted Nugent came out to his ranch in Santa Rosa, within 20 minutes, he was boiling a squirrel in a pot that he'd shot on his property.
Boiling
this guy's
squirrel.
Like, whoa. I mean, you know, he's already out shooting stuff. I mean, it's just crazy.
Boiled squirrel.
Yeah, wow. I don't know about that.
That's
what happens? A fur comes off? Or?
Yeah, you got to skin it. I've had squirrel. I had squirrel recently. My friend Steve Ranella cooked a squirrel that he shot. It doesn't taste like anything else. It doesn't taste like chicken or
not like all gamey or anything.
No,
like
it wasn't gamey.
Oh,
it didn't taste bad. I mean, it tasted good. I mean, he knows. My friend Steve Ranella is the host of this show called Meat Eater. He's a professional hunter and an author, and he knows how to cook game. So
I know you get a lot of really cool guests on your show, different walks of life. And that's really cool that you can handle all that. That you're well versed in different subjects and stuff like fitness and.
Well, I'm very fortunate, you know, that I can talk to all these different people. It would be incredibly rare to be able to sit down and just have long-term, you know, long-form conversations, 2-3 hour conversations with just a bunch of random people like that, you know, whether it's Steve Ranella or I've had David Lee Roth on or all these different characters and musicians and artists and, you know.
Pretty cool, man.
Actors and strength and conditioning coaches. And it's interesting to have a bunch of different people.
Oh, by the way, I wanted
ideas.
to tell you something. I wrote a Joe Rogan song.
No way.
Yeah, I wrote a little blues.
A Joe Rogan song?
Yeah.
Should I hear it? Should I leave the room?
Little song about Joe.
Seems weird if you play it and I'm in the room. I can handle it, though.
I won't play it.
No, you can play it, please. I'm honored.
Send it.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You want to play it now?
No, just whatever. I don't care.
Oh, well, if you have it now, we can play it now. Well, now that you brought it up, it seems like the best time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, don't chicken
Well,
out.
come on, man. Play the song about me, dude.
Yeah. Don't be announcing something and then say, well, I'm not going to play it now.
Well, I'm excited that you brought the guitar because I wasn't sure if you were going to.
You know, Joe's a busy man. From his head down to his toes. From Los Angeles, baby, down to Mexico. His show will pulverize you, leave a little smile on your face. His timing's impeccable in a timely kind of way. You know he get what I want, and that's a guarantee. Oh yeah. Hey Joe, yeah, where you going, man? Hey Joe, yeah, with that little gun in your hand. Hey Joe, I've been trying to get a hold of you for days. Hey Joe, now you got me singing Purple Haze. You know Joe's a busy man in this busy, busy land. Hey Joe.
I am very honored.
Yeah.
But that might be the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
Sorry, dude. Okay, I'll play the faster one. Hey, Joe. Sorry, dude.
No, please. That's awesome. I'm just kidding. I couldn't. Like, I have to make fun of it.
I don't give haters any energy, anyways. It's cool.
When you sit down and write music, do you have like an idea in your head when you sit down and write, or you just start strumming and like how does?
No, I have ideas. I'm actually, the past few years when I get a riff in my head, usually when I'm in writing mode, like we're going to do a record soon or something, I used to not really be able to get that close to what was in there, but I've been able to kind of get closer these days. And one thing that I've learned over the years, and that is when you have this energy and this thought and this musical idea, whatever it is, make sure when you're vibrating at that, wherever you're at that moment, to record it. Because if you don't do it, the following day, you might not forget the riff, but it won't have the same energy. The delivery will be way different. It might not be the same rhythmical thing. So it's best just to don't be lazy if you have this huge idea like at midnight or something. Just grab your phone or grab something and put it on tape so you don't lose it, because I've lost a lot.
That's very analogous to comedy.
Yeah.
In stand-up comedy, it's the same thing. Sometimes you have these ideas and you just have to jump on them. Like if I have an idea, sometimes I'll be lying in bed. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to forget that. When I go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up in the morning. Fuck, what was that?
I learned that the hard way. I don't know if you've ever watched or heard Rodney Dangerfield's story. Do you?
No, what is it?
His story, the way his career and stuff.
Well, I know of his career. I mean, is it like an actual documentary called Rodney Dangerfield's Story? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's called Rodney Dangerfield's Story?
Well, no, it's I'm not really sure what it was. It was one of these A&E biography.
Okay.
Kind of vibe, but it's just an amazing story because he was a comedian, and then he pretty much retired when he was 29, and his wife was a singer, so they decided to retire together, just get out of this stupid music stuff, or whatever, and comedy stuff. So he left the business, but he never quit writing jokes. He hated this straight gig, of being a siding salesman, or whatever, doing siding for people's homes or whatever. So he never quit writing jokes. So he literally writes jokes for like 11 years. He just has a duffel bag full, right? Comes back. But when he came back, they had like Bill Cosby, they had, this dude he called himself Jack Roy. And they had Bill Cosby coming up, George Carlin, they had Lenny Bruce. It just had all these killers. And they're going, Jack, I mean, your material is a little better, but you're a used commodity, look, we got all these guys now, So he goes to this club and he goes, okay, I won't be Jack Roy. He goes, just pick any name, just make something up and I'll just go with that. I'll be in this other guy. So the guy comes up with Rodney Dangerfield for his name, right? So he does this show and kills. He just destroys the crowd. I mean, they're just, socks and shoes and bodies piled against the back window. And so he goes, maybe this is the name for me, but it literally, when he started out, he didn't really know what he was doing. He had, doll or, just all kinds of different
like
things.
A puppet?
He wore wigs. He did puppets. He didn't really have any direction. He was just doing all kinds of different stuff. When he became the one-liner master, like literally all these jokes are constructed perfect. He doesn't go one word off. I mean, but he does have to write the stuff. But it's just an amazing story that the guy makes this huge comeback at 40.
Yeah.
And literally has this monster career in movies. And, supposedly the story goes when he was asked to do Caddyshack, they said action, and he didn't even know what the action meant. Like, he was so green. Action. Oh, you want me to do the bit? You want me to do the bit?
Wow.
Yeah, Rodney, do the bit.
Wow.
So
I didn't know what action meant.
You didn't know what action meant.
Well, Rodney is a really interesting example of show business. I was working at a place called Great Woods. It was in Mansfield, Massachusetts. It's a Center for the Performing Arts, like concert place.
Right.
And
Rodney, I know where there.
Did you ever perform there? Did you guys perform?
Sure.
When did you perform there? What years?
Shoot. Oh,
did you perform there in the 80s?
Several times. Yeah.
I bet you guys performed there when I worked there.
That could be.
I guarantee you did.
We did a lot of shows. We played in 1984. We were on tour with Judas Priest. I'm pretty sure that hit there.
Yep, and I was working there in 84.
84?
Yeah.
It was called
No, I wasn't, actually, because that was before I graduated high school. I graduated high school in 85, so I don't think I worked at Great Woods, now that I think about it, until 86 or 87.
My keyboard player, Michael Lardy, is he's like an almanac. Like he could tell you the weather, the time, what day we played there, the dates. I can't really,
Right.
But so I can't really tell you when it was.
Point is, I was there backstage, and Rodney Dangerfield was getting ready, and all he had on was a bathrobe and slippers. He got to a certain point in his career where he liked to go on stage with a bathrobe on. He just gave zero fucks. He was like in his 60s, I think, at the time. I'm not sure how old he was, somewhere around the 60s, but. He was just so relaxed and so loose that he felt most comfortable on stage with a bathrobe on and no underwear. He would just go, like, they would all laugh, like the guys would laugh, like his fucking balls would be hanging out of his bathrobe, and he'd just be hanging out backstage. Hey, help yourself. You want a sandwich? Come on in, kid.
Yeah,
super friendly and relaxed.
He's a friendly man and a sweet man, but he really felt that they say he was a really tortured soul from like his childhood. Like his parents hated him, and his mother, didn't show him any love, and all this stuff.
That's how you make a comedian.
Yeah, and what they said is he was just fighting against his childhood with his material. He's told people, all I have is my act. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
He just felt he was so wronged in his life that that's where he came. All his material comes from that being wronged.
Yeah. No respect. No respect.
Actually, the no respect line didn't quite come at first. He was saying, with me, nothing goes right. But it was always jokes about how how wronged he was, and that's all his material stemmed from that. And it's actually a brilliant story because it's such a fighting heart story. He had to grind so harder than you hear normally. Even when he got on Ed Sullivan, or he auditioned for Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan didn't call him for like weeks. It just tortured him. It was like, am I going to have a life or no? It's like, if he calls, I will. If he doesn't, I won't.
Wow.
That's how crucial it was, because he'd already kind of burned out in the clubs. He needed to get here. Mm-hmm. And even all the comedians that were interviewed saying, if you didn't do Sullivan, you just ain't, you ain't happening. You know what I mean? Like, you literally needed that show to make your name, to get your name out.
And then it became Carson and Letterman later.
Yeah. Now, Carson was another problem. He made a mistake. Someone on the staff of Carson stole some of his material after seeing him like at an improv kind of place. Well, Rodney wrote a letter to Carson saying, hey, you got a thief on your staff. He was blackballed. That was it.
Really?
Carson was so pissed off that he literally blackballed. He didn't want Rodney on the show. Well, time elapsed, and I guess the producer of the show and Johnny Carson went to some club or something, and they couldn't get in. We're going to leave, and Rodney Dangerfield was there, and he goes, I got you guys a seat. And they came in, and he apologized to Johnny Carson. He said, I'm sorry, I was wrong or whatever, and so he had him on the show, and he destroyed Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was just in stitches laughing everything this guy said.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was one of the greats, in my opinion, one of the all-time greats, in a really unique sort of way. His style, very unique.
Yeah.
And great in movies, too, like Back to School.
Yeah.
I mean, he was amazing, man.
And he actually wrote the idea for that movie. Back to School but his idea was going back to school broke, like a total loser. And Harold Ramis said, my dream was always to go back to school rich as hell, have all the money I have now.
Right.
And go back like, hey, mofo, okay, I'm at school. Where's the chicks and stuff? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he gave him that idea, and then they incorporated the two ideas, and back to school was brilliant. Obviously, once he was a rich guy.
God, that was a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
And then
how about Easy Money?
Oh, that was a great movie.
That was
too.
really
that was
good.
A great movie. I love.
You couldn't
Rodney
smoke or
Dangerfield.
drink, or else for the million. That was great.
And remember when Kinnison played the teacher in Back to School?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was fucking
Kinnison,
great.
he was an amazing dude. He was a very big music fan.
Yeah, musician himself.
He really liked to. In fact, our producer of our very first album, Michael Wagner, he did Wild Thing. That Wild Thing.
That
They
was
had the
great.
video and everything.
Yeah.
He actually recorded that, and so he was around musicians a lot.
Kinnison is he's, in my opinion, he was the greatest of all time for like 2 years. But he's a great lesson too for comedians too, because he went from, in my opinion, being one of the greatest of all time to towards the end of his career, he was terrible. He just it just became.
Do you think the drugs
Yes.
took play in that?
Oh yeah,
I do too.
100%. I think coke.
That's why I think that that's a perfect metaphor or whatever for wasted talent, because if somebody's really strong and kicking ass, I don't think it's a coincidence that the guy's doing a lot of blow now and his show is kind of going downhill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You got to put those two together.
100%.
I'm playing the most consistent I've ever played, especially since I've been sober for, going on 6 years. But you feel similar from day to day. You're not waking up in pain and having to fight to be normal and all that. You're not going to do what you do. You're not going to be at your best when you're doing this stuff to your body. You're not treating yourself well.
Yeah.
I play more consistent now than I've ever played in my life from show to show.
I believe it.
I mean, and I really pump myself up. I don't go out to just entertain people. I want their jaws dropped. I want to impress the crap out of them, and because I think that if you put that much effort into a show, going for the pulverize level, and you maybe have an off night and you only entertain him, not else lost. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you just want to go out there and just entertain people and play your songs, let's rock. Come on, let's rock. Mm-hmm. That just doesn't get it for me. One of the problems I have is the 22 hours in between, the show. I mean, you're traveling and you're doing all this stuff just for this 2 hours. It's like, I want to get the maximum out of that 2 hours. I don't want all this traveling to be a waste.
Right.
Like I've heard it said, they pay me to travel, but I play for free.
That's a good way to put it.
It's the hardest thing about, like if you talk to any boxers, they say the easiest thing about the boxing is the fight.
Right.
It's the training and getting up at 4 a.m. and, drinking raw eggs or whatever else you guys do.
I don't think they do that anymore.
Not drinking raw eggs.
That's
no.
just in the movie.
Yeah, that's just in that movie. But I get that. But you know what I'm saying? It's
yes,
like
the preparation's the most difficult aspect of
preparation's
it, for sure.
everything. It's even in pool. I think Shane Van Boening. There's a reason he's number one. I think he practices more than everyone.
Oh, he practices 8
at
hours
everything.
a day.
At the break. At shot making.
Well, I was
mental attitude.
I was there for. I've been there for a couple of his matches live, but one of them where he played Earl Strickland, and after the match, we all went to the pool hall, and Shane played by himself for hours. I mean, hours and hours and hours, just pocketing balls, setting up shots, pocketing balls, and just kept doing it. Kept doing it. And then after he got done doing that, then he played 3-cushion billiards by himself.
Oh wow!
I mean, he's just a machine, and that's how you become successful.
Yeah.
Your
Absolutely.
attitude, like that attitude about performing, is just it's so important, and it's so important because that attitude of gratitude, of respecting what you're doing and
Yeah.
loving what you're doing, and really being enthusiastic about the performance,
Absolutely.
and wanting people to have a great time is everything.
It's not ego.
It's everything.
It's not about your ego. I don't really believe that. I just want to give people their money's worth.
Yes.
And giving my all, like really feeling like I gave them everything I had available.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you got some self-worth, and plus you get people going, whoa, did you see that? You know, and man, I want to give them their money's worth.
Fuck yeah. Well, you're the only guy that can provide the Mark Kendall experience. I mean, you are Mark Kendall. If they want to go see you, you're the only guy that can do it. Like, I said that to my friend Ari once, and it stuck with me after I said it. I'm like, wow, it's so true. We were talking about comedy and performing, and he was just starting to build a following. And I said, dude, I go, if you're an Ari Shaffir fan, and I'm an Ari Shaffir fan, you're the only guy that can provide Ari Shaffir. Like, there's another guy might be able to steal your jokes. Another guy might be able to try to mimic your delivery. But if I want to go see this crazy motherfucker named Ari Shaffir, you're the only guy that can give that to people. You're the only one out there that's Ari Shaffir.
Sure.
And he was like, wow, that's totally true. I'm like, it's totally true. Like, it's your responsibility as the keeper of the Ari Shaffir act, the Ari Shaffir material, and you as a human. You got to go out there, and you're the only one that can do it. And people out there are fans, and they want to go see it, and you're the only one that can provide that. And you got to kind of, and Ari does, but there's some comedians who don't. Like, I've seen comedians go on stage and just completely phone it in and half-ass it, trying out new material, because they didn't care if the audience got a good show, because the audience should just be happy that they're there. Like, that's
I can
their
feel
attitude.
that. I can feel that with just about any whether it be a comedian, a band. I can tell when someone is going through the motions, and I know the fans can read that too. I never the way that we've as a band have eliminated going through the motions is allowing ourselves the freedom to make new music. If it wasn't for, if I was just some oldies band, we would have probably been over 20 years ago, because I'm not going to go out and just play Once Bitten, Twice Shy once a year. And
Right.
I mean, I need to be creative. That's why I got into playing Guitarist, because, wow, you can make up stuff, and I want to continue to make up stuff, and that's what keeps me going. Also, we do a lot of stretch out jams and stuff that are different from night to night, so I don't know what's going to happen before it does,
Right.
So that's the way I eliminate going through the motions. But, I think that's, even for a comedian, it's writing new jokes, trying out new things. Will keep it fresh for you, don't you think?
No doubt, no doubt. And I think that's an important point that I wanted to ask you about with when it comes to music. With some bands, they reach a certain point, and then all anybody wants to hear is their old stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear new music. Like, there's certain bands they'll go and someone will yell out, do this, do that. And then they're like, oh, we got a new song. And people are like, oh, fucking new song.
Well, I don't know if they're going to go, but that could be. But one thing we don't do, and is bombard people with new music. We're not going to go out there and play like 10 new songs or anything. I mean,
But why not?
We want to give them all what they want,
Right.
Unless we were just going on a tour to play our new album. I mean, that's one thing, or maybe just play a few shows like that. We're just going to play the Elation record, or whatever.
But is that sort of a thing that happens to rock bands? They get kind of trapped by their past success.
Yeah, I don't know if trap is quite the right
probably a
word,
bad word.
but I take it as a total blessing that we have those songs.
Right.
When we play these songs, I still like playing them. We're playing for a different audience every night. It's not like if we were standing over there playing the song for the same guy over and over and over, it would probably get old. But we got different response. It's a different feel that night. We stretch it out. We bring the crowd into the show. I mean, we do different things. But I don't mind. When I hear us on the radio, even today, I get tingles, So going out and playing the stuff that people want to hear isn't a problem with me. It's just I don't want to just only do that.
Right.
I want to incorporate new things, and a lot of the people like some of our new stuff too.
What is it though about it? What I was going to get to is because it's so completely different than a comedian. Comedians have to have new material all the time. The last thing anybody wants to hear, usually for the most part, is an old bit. Like sometimes people will request they like want to hear something again. You know, that's a classic, but they want at least like 70% of it to be new. You know, they want almost as much new stuff. Like a few classics thrown in is great, but the last thing you want to hear when you go see a comedian is the same act in the same order that you saw 5 years ago. That would be horrific.
Well, yeah, if it was the same, I mean, even like majorly pro bands, I'm talking like, I mean, just any band, they go do a similar show every night on a certain tour. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe they're not going to come back and give you that same look again next year, but I mean, like we did a tour with Kiss, and every night they were saying the same thing to the audience. It was like, cookie cutter reaction. It's like, oh, and now he's going to say this, So it's...
How many of y'all like cold gin?
yeah. Word for word, man. He's not going to mess it up.
Somebody made a video, or a CD rather, of all of Paul Stanley's in-between banter, in-between songs. It's fucking brilliant.
It really powerful in the sense, like, their live album, the one they did years and years and years ago, was the most sought-after, best-selling, and some of those things that he said in between the songs became very famous, like the Cold Gin thing. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ace Frehley is actually going to be on this podcast April 23rd.
Oh, good.
I'm fucking very excited
I'm
about
happy
that.
to hear that because one thing, and I'm not going to take sides or do any kind of stuff, but I really feel bad, that they're not being given any credit from their former bandmates, to just write them off as hired guns when they were part of... I mean, that drummer, Peter Criss, wrote their biggest hit of the band's career, on paper, at least. That's that. So to just call them hired guns that were in our band a long time ago, I understand that they're bitter because of addiction problems and stuff like that, but you shouldn't, throw your brothers under the bus. I'm not going to sit here and speak for them, but I'm just saying I feel bad because when I was a young teenager, just about every one of my friends were playing air guitar to Ace Frehley. You know what I mean? Ace! Yeah! You know what I mean? Just noodling in the air, and I just think he should get some kind of credit. But.
I agree. I don't know the ins and the outs of their disputes with Peter Criss.
Nor do I.
But I do know that Ace Frehley was. I was a huge fan when I was a kid. I mean, I think he was a huge part of the band. During its successful years. I think some of his songs and some of his riffs are some of my all-time favorites. That have kissed.
I'll tell you something. Imagine this: Eddie Van Halen. You know how great he is. When they first got their record deal, and Rodney Bingenheimer actually introduced them at the in Pasadena at the Pasadena Civic. They were signed by Warner Brothers. It was all going on. Eddie goes into the solo, and the end solo that he did was the Ace Frehley solo. He actually did the Ace Frehley solo.
Wow.
So come on, I mean, let's give this guy some credit.
Yeah.
Ace, bro.
I don't know what it is.
Ace is the man with me.
I don't know what it is, what the dispute was between those guys. Who knows?
Who knows? It's none of my business, and I just, no matter what it is, I just think, even if you hate each other or whatever,
you got to give the guy his due.
Just give him his due. I mean, still hate him forever or whatever you're going to do, but just you can't just say he was just a hired gun when he was such a, as far as young teenagers, he was a hero to a lot of people.
Is that what they're saying now? Is that like?
Well, they were getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they're just basically saying that, I'm not quoting anybody. I'm just saying that they wanted to just have their new guys, the guys that have been in the band for a long time, be there, or in other words, they didn't want the original guys up there playing with makeup on when these other guys in their band had makeup on.
Right.
It was just going to be a circus,
Yeah.
Oh, we got two Ace Frehley, we got two drummers with the same cat thing, and and I totally get that.
Well, they tried to do different characters for a while. Remember?
Did they?
Yeah.
So I'm not really that hip to Kiss. I don't know much about
They
them.
didn't try to replace Peter Chris at first. They replaced Peter Chris with another dude who had
different kind of thing.
Sort of different thing.
That would
going
make
on.
sense, to have
But
some.
now they don't. Now they have a guy who plays Ace Frehley and a guy who plays Peter Chris.
Which I know who the guy is. His name's Tommy Thayer. He used to be in a band called Black and Blue like years and years ago. Is there a break to where you can go to the bathroom?
Go to the bathroom now, man.
Just go?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
There's lots of stuff that I could talk about. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem with having a podcast like this. A lot of people, they don't have the kind of bladder control that I've developed over years and years of podcasting and working the UFC. I make a joke out of it because at the UFC, Mike Goldberg, my co-host, he hates when I talk about this, but tough shit. The dude has to pee like 6 times every broadcast. So I've developed the ability to maintain and to hold my bladder because I'm a big boy, okay, and because I know how to handle my coffee and my stimulants. That's the problem, really, is when you start drinking shit like Red Bull. That stuff fucks with your bladder. I just announced today that I am going to be in Philadelphia on October 17th. October 17th, I'm at the Tower Theater, and as of today is April 10th. The pre-sale is going on right now if you go to my Twitter page. That's at Joe Rogan. And also this Friday night, I'm going to be at the Ice House in Pasadena, and it's one of the shows that Brian has put together, and I know there's some funny people that are going to be on it. Christina Pazitsky is going to be on it. Dave Taylor is going to be on it. I don't know the full lineup, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. That Ice House is one of the greatest places in the world to do stand-up. And it's also the small room, too, which the small room is really a special room. It's only about 80 seats total, so it sells out every time, pretty much. And just one of the coolest places to perform and do stand-up. Somebody sent me this on Twitter the other day, and I wanted to show it to you, Mark.
Yeah.
As you've gotten back. It's a picture of Jimi Hendrix when he was really young with his guitar.
Oh, yeah. I have actually seen that
Isn't
picture
that amazing?
before. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because he played with, like, the Isley Brothers, and he played... When he was up and coming, he was playing with a lot of people.
That's such a
Little
great
Richard
picture.
and stuff like that. And so, yeah, he had a different look.
Yeah, no one's going to steal it from there. It's on my Twitter. So it's such an amazing picture, though.
You're around the
man.
MMA and UFC. Are you a fighter yourself? Are you just fascinated by the sport? Or?
Well, at this point in my life, I'd have to say I'm just fascinated by the sport, but I've done martial arts my whole life.
Uh-huh.
I used to compete. I used to be a Taekwondo champion, and I used to
right on.
teach Taekwondo for a living before I became a professional comedian. And
Right on.
And I still train.
I was such a great fan, a big fan. I had a lot of tapes in like the Hoist Gracie days and stuff. And all that, and one thing that blew my mind, because I've always been I was a boxing fan, and then I started watching this UFC stuff, and I was like, whoa, man, these guys, it's so intense. And it seemed like, well, at least back then, that the grapplers had. I mean, that was the nuts. As soon, If it went to the ground, you were done with Hoist
There's
Gracie.
another pool term.
You had
just
no
threw in there.
chance.
You just threw in there another pool term. The nuts.
Yeah.
People don't know.
Yeah.
The nuts means you're stealing.
Yeah,
You got it down.
It's
You got no
just
problem. You're
flat-
winning. No problem.
Yeah, he's going to win every time from the ground. And that's what amazed me. It's like, I'm thinking, because Bruce Lee there's no one like this guy. How could anybody beat him at anything? But then I wonder if an expert grappler somehow got a hold of him. But I don't think they could.
Oh, listen, they could. Bruce Lee was an actor, and Bruce Lee was a tremendous martial artist. Bruce Lee was a real innovator, and Bruce Lee is responsible for the idea behind his Jeet Kune Do, which was that you could take all the best aspects of all the different martial arts and combine them together. So in a lot of senses, Bruce Lee was the original mixed martial arts fighter. But he had very little competition experience and very little real fighting experience amongst elite fighters like at the UFC level.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He was more of an actor, and he was a great martial artist. It's not to diminish him in any way. I mean, who knows if the UFC had been around when he was if he was born in this era and, the UFC was around while he was at the age that he would want to compete at, who knows? He might have been in there and he might have been a champion. But the reality of the situation is what he was just a guy who was a great martial artist who was ahead of his time and a true innovator. But to say that a guy like Renan Barão, who's the UFC bantamweight champion, who would be the guy that he would compete against, to say that, he wouldn't be able to catch Bruce Lee, he would fuck Bruce Lee up. Believe me.
Wow!
If they,
I don't know things like this. This is interesting to me.
If they both were, if you took the Bruce Lee from the movies and the Renan Barão from the UFC, pulled him out of a time machine and stuck him into the octagon, Renan Barão would have his way with him. It's just he's just a completely evolved, fully trained mixed martial arts fighter at the very highest level of every single aspect of the game. It doesn't mean that Bruce Lee couldn't have reached that level as well. He was amazing. You watch some of the fight scenes, there was no one in that time that was throwing kicks the way Bruce Lee was.
It seems incredible to me.
Amazing. His movement, his speed, and also...
His speed is insane.
His understanding of choreography and the drama and excitement of what he was doing in those movies was just unprecedented. There was nobody like him. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, but if Bruce Lee fought Renan Barão, my money's on the Brazilian. Without a doubt. But that's just... reality, you know?
Sure.
You're
not taking anything away from Bruce
No.
Lee. You're just stating the facts.
I'm a huge Chuck Norris fan, but if Chuck Norris had to fight the elite of the elite in mixed martial arts as well, he would have to be in that game and train in that game, get to that level, and then you would see. But you can't know. It's like saying, man, if Tom Cruise played professionally, God, he would beat everybody. I saw him in The Color of Money. Come on, man. Imagine if Tom Cruise had to play Shane Van Bonen.
He can get weight from me.
He'd get robbed.
He'll get weight from me, too.
He'd get weight from everybody. Well, he probably can't even play anymore. That was the thing. Like, there's only a few guys that have ever really pulled off looking like a pool player in a movie. Like Tom Cruise,
he did
sort of did it.
He sort of did. But if you see some of the shots where he's setting up his mechanics look a little bit hokey, a couple times.
But Paul Newman in The Hustler was not very good. It was awkward. His acting was fantastic. He's brilliant at the performance, but. You watch him shoot things like that bank combination.
The bank combination.
So
that's
whack.
Something you would never see.
Not only that, you know it was an accident. They told him to just knock some balls around and, we'll just...
Who's going to call that shot? No one in history.
Ever. It's a stupid shot.
Yeah.
No one would do it.
You're playing straight pool, you're going to play say, or you're going to do something else.
Yeah. He tried to make a bank shot, and he didn't even realize that he was going to make a combination, and then everybody clapped like it was real. But Jackie Gleason could play. If you look at Jackie Gleason,
he can run 100 balls. He was actually used to hustle pool before he even acted. He was like for real.
Well, you can see his stroke. Play. He's got a very gentle stroke. Like you can see the way he's holding the cue.
Absolutely.
He's a real pool player. So there's only a few of those guys that have ever played in movies and looked legit.
Gleason could really play.
Yeah,
he could really play. He was actually a hustler, and I know for a fact that he was a good player.
Paul Sorvino apparently can really play too.
I don't even know. I have heard that. I don't know how good he was. I haven't heard of anyone that played Gleason's speed from like Jay Helford or something who kind of would know. But that's all I've heard. I know I couldn't get there with that guy.
Yeah, there was a few guys throughout history that have played pretty good. But everybody says that Jackie Gleason was probably the all-time best guy.
Yeah,
as far as
and I think a lot of that reason is because he was a pool player before actor.
Yeah,
that's
right?
big. It's like with John Schmidt. You know John, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. He was a golfer before a pool player.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he literally golfed with Tiger Woods in college, and he played like state events and all this stuff. And he's a scratch golfer, so he goes, any pool player that wants to play me in golf for money can get like strokes from me. You know what I mean?
That's interesting
because
that
he
went
was a
into
golfer
that.
before he was a pool player.
But it's interesting that he went into pool over golf because there's so much more money in golf.
Yeah, I don't really have the answers for that. When he met Bobby Hunter years ago, supposedly he was working at a golf course. I really don't know why he wouldn't go pro. But he even said, I guess back then when he was like, I don't know, 17 or 18, that Tiger Woods was the best golfer, but he said that he could probably never compete on the PGA level. And he said that he was saying that I'd not make a good talent.
John Schmidt.
Yeah,
could.
He goes, yeah, Tiger Woods is better than all of us, but I don't think he could ever like make it on the PGA Tour. Or anything.
He thought that about Tiger Woods.
Yeah. He goes, I wouldn't make a very good talent agent or whatever.
So that's hilarious. So he thought back then that Tiger had no chance.
He just said because his thinking was, we're college guys. I mean, he's really good, but he's not going to go out and beat, whoever. It was just, kind of the thinking at that time. Obviously, he's got tons of respect for Tiger Woods.
Well, Tiger Woods is another perfect example of a guy who just completely driven threw himself into this one discipline and just had a dad who was also completely obsessed by it. And
sure.
Just put all of his time and effort into it.
When you look at guys that do things really great, and guys that are really good or whatever, it's usually the really great guy that has worked harder. He might have some natural ability, which helps, but it's with Shane Van, almost every walk of life, when I see somebody that just totally blows my mind, they worked harder.
Yeah.
They put more hours in or whatever.
Yeah, the perfect storm is the guy who's got natural ability, loves what he does, and works harder. That's the perfect storm.
Oh, that is perfect. If you love what you're doing and you work hard at it, you really are giving your maximum effort. I mean, what else can you ask from yourself?
Yeah, pursuit of excellence. That's and man, that is,
and it's beautiful no matter what walk of life it's in to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I love to watch somebody do something that's really hard to do, but they just do it effortless.
Yeah,
like in pool, I just can't believe how. That's why I have so much respect for the game, because I know how difficult it is from my own experience.
Right.
When a guy gets up there and runs 200 and makes it look hard, when I'm like, killing myself to run 55, The other day I ran 55, I'm like calling friends. I'm going, dude, I just ran 55,
Right.
But it's like, get up and just run 100, at will and stuff like that.
Well, I've always said that pool is an art form that can only be appreciated by people who play it. If you don't play pool, you're really not going to be able to appreciate what's going on.
I kind of have to agree with that, because that's why I was so kind of happy that a guy like you that's really busy in the business or whatever knows about pool. Just like somebody away from pool knows about it. He knows what these guys go through and stuff,
Yeah.
I just thought that was really neat. Jay I've heard him talk about you and stuff, and
I've known Jay since the 90s. I think I met Jay in 94.
Wow.
I think I met Jay when he was doing CJ Wiley's big professional tournaments in 94.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy. I didn't know you've been around that long.
Yeah, well, that's when I first moved to LA.
I mean, I didn't know you known the pool guy, the pool world that long.
Oh, I was involved in pool before that. I think I started playing in 1990. I think that's when I really first started playing, and became completely obsessed. That's right around the time that I moved to New York. I had a knee injury. I couldn't work out for a while, and just to kill time with my friends, I started playing pool and just got obsessed.
Where'd you play at?
There's a place called Executive Billiards in White Plains, New York. Still there.
Okay.
But now it's like a fucking disco.
I played in a few of those rooms out there.
Well, I also played in a lot of the rooms in the area. Like I played a lot of Chelsea Billiards in New York.
Oh, Chelsea,
City.
yeah.
West End.
I've been there.
West End Billiards.
Is that where?
in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Is that where Ginky used to?
Yeah.
I was
friends
he
with
used to play
Kinky.
there. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. In fact, when I heard that he was kind of experiencing a little bit of a problem with the pills, I was going to reach out to him, and he died.
Yeah.
Like before. But I thought about it because he was doing an interview, and I watched it. I watched an interview with Jose Perica on just some random site. I was just not even looking for anything. I just happened to see it. I go, oh man, I want to see this. And I saw his interview, and he'd been sober. He had some back stuff, and he was taking narcotics for it and stuff like that. And got kind of caught up in it. But he said he hadn't been doing it for a long time. He was doing well. And I reach out to struggling addicts. That's what I kind of do. I just every once in a while I'll just say, hey, man, if anybody out there is struggling and wants to try to get sober, I'm available to be your sober friend. That's
very cool.
That's what I offer. I just offer my friendship, support. I have my own support group and stuff like that. But anyways, I was going to do that to him. And especially because I knew him anyways. We weren't close friends or anything, but I steered him around when he was out here. We we kind of hung out a little bit, and I was really bummed that I was a little late on that, but I didn't know because he said he was not using and not taking the.
He wasn't being honest. George,
maybe.
I knew George from the 90s. I mean, I knew him way back in the day when he was a pretty decent player. And he was sort of coming up.
Great player.
But he was always squeaky clean. He always drank water, no cigarettes, no alcohol, no drugs. But he had that back injury, and man, pills are a motherfucker.
The neck, yeah.
He had, what was wrong with him? Did it come from a car accident?
Some kind of a disc, neck
But where did it come from?
I don't know.
Was it I wonder if it's from pool itself.
I don't know. It was some kind of.
I had a back injury from jiu-jitsu, and it would flare up when I would play pool. There's something about the position of being over a table, like bent over a table, like because when you're playing, you kind of have your head back.
Sure.
And there was something about that.
I have a muscle that kind of pokes out a little bit that I have to deal with. Do
you ever try deep tissue massage for that?
I've tried a lot of different things, yeah, but the person I've used the last couple times doesn't quite go hard enough. I wish he was just a little bit more power.
Right.
Maybe I need.
Just got to go to another person.
Yeah.
You got to find someone who hurts you. You got to like a Rolfer. You ever get Rolfing done? Rolfing?
No.
Rolfing is like a particularly brutal type of massage that doesn't feel good at all.
It bruises you and stuff.
They are manipulating. I shouldn't quote exactly what they do because there's a lot of dispute about what's really going on when they're doing it. But what they're doing is essentially absolutely brutal massage that relaxes everything in your muscles. I mean, it's really unbelievably painful while it's happening. Not unbelievable. You can believe it. I mean, it's not like they're sawing your leg off with a rusty hatchet. But it sucks. But when it's over, man, you feel great.
I don't know how versed you are as far as the body. I mean, because I just kind of go, oh, wow, when I push here, it hurts here or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not, a doctor. I mean, I haven't studied the anatomy of a back or whatever, but this one person that I used to go to, she did things to my neck that caused so much relief in my back just by working my neck.
Yeah.
It was like really crazy how the body works sometimes, like
it's all connected.
Like you're working on one spot, and I get a little relief right here from down.
Well,
or
having a person who's really good at deep tissue massage and sports massage, and someone who really understands the connective tissue, you could relieve a lot of tension in your back. It's such an important thing, and huge amongst athletes. Like athletes go for deep tissue massage on a regular basis for that very reason, just because it offers relief. It allows the muscles to heal more properly, allows more circulation in the area. A lot of things they're doing now that are just incredible are, one of them, there's this cryo thing they're doing where athletes will work out really hard and they step in this thing that uses liquid nitrogen to bring the temperature down like 150 below zero. Wow. And they stand in it for like 2 minutes. And then they get out, and the incredible cold causes all your vessels to constrict, and then when you get out of it, everything dilates, and it's like
it opens up your system.
It's massive release.
That's crazy,
and flowing of the blood and removing.
Now, I don't take a lot of. I don't take really vitamins even. No,
To eat
I
really
was wondering
healthy?
if before I go, I was wondering if you could like kind of hook me up with some kind of vitamin regimen.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'm
Well,
gonna
most
get into some
important thing-
cardio action.
Most important thing is food. That's number one.
Right.
The most important thing is eat healthy food.
Okay.
Once you've got the healthy food covered, then supplementation is a good second approach.
Mm-hmm.
But the first approach should always be the diet itself, the food itself.
Okay.
Like eating healthy food is one of the best things you could do for yourself. And it's
Okay.
one of the things that so many people
Like
ignore.
salmon and things like just
Vegetables.
very vegetables. and
Vegetables are huge. It's one of the number one things that people ignore when it comes to their diet is fresh, healthy vegetables, clean vegetables, eating cooked and uncooked, raw, blended, just juices, just eating salads, just green leafy vegetables are so important for your body. And it's something that we just don't get enough. I mean, when you're talking about phytonutrients, you're talking about minerals, all the different things that you get from vegetables. They're one of the most important things that people are deficient from in their diet. Being minerally deficient, being nutritionally deficient.
Right.
A lot of it is because of a lack of green leafy vegetables, healthy vegetables, organic vegetables, and healthy proteins on top of that. What are you doing over there? What is that?
Sorry.
What is that?
It's a pick.
Oh.
I'm playing
I was
guitar.
just trying to fit-
I'm writing it. I wrote a whole album while you were talking. I'm just kidding.
But vitamins are good also to cover all your bases as far as like adding additional nutrition to your diet to make sure that you're optimizing everything. It's not like you'll hear like, oh, you don't need multivitamins. You're fine without them. They're not necessary. Sure, you can live without them, but you're not looking to just live. You're looking to be fully optimized.
You feel good.
Yeah. The best way also is to go to someone who can monitor your blood work. Get your blood work done and find out. You might say, well, the doctor might look at you like, hey, you're low in vitamin D. You're low in vitamin B12. You could use some C. in your diet.
Wow.
Yeah, go to someone who's
Okay.
a real doctor, an expert in nutrition, and an expert in vitamins, and
Right.
and someone who can actually do some blood work on you. And then from there,
Awesome, man.
go to a nutritionist. Get someone who you can get like there's a bunch of different. There's a company that we use. I forget the name of it because we just started using it. Where they deliver healthy meals to your house, prepackaged. They do it 2 or 3 times a week, and you put them in the refrigerator, and it's like super healthy organic foods, and you pre-made.
We
So
do
you-
try to eat organic. I mean, my wife shops at Trader Joe's, and she gets stuff that's, I guess, better for me and stuff. So
It's like you trailed off, I guess, stuff, whatever. Well, it's people like food that tastes delicious. It's that's
That's
sensation.
usually bad
of
for you.
Yummy food. To eat a nice fat burger at 2:00 in the
Right.
morning, just dripping with
No good.
fucking oil.
I
and-
know.
Oh, so glorious though. Yeah, it's the problem is that French fries taste great.
No, with your diet, I mean, okay, vegetables. I know you like to eat right. Do you ever go off that and
Yeah.
just go, I don't want a burger?
Fuck
man."
yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely. Yeah. I believe in cheat days. I believe in at least cheat meals.
Yeah,
My friend Mike
just every
Dolce
once
calls
in a
them reward meals or earned meals. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're-
that makes sense. Yeah, because you're taking care of it. You're treating yourself good for the most part.
Yeah, I treat myself good, and then the thing is though, if I do it, and I'll go off and I'll have like some Krispy Kreme donuts, I feel like
Krispy Kreme.
I feel like such shit.
Oh
Physically.
yeah,
it's like was that really worth it?
I've done that before, where I'll have McDonald's and just swear it off, like I'll have a Big Mac or something, and it's like I feel so bad and disgusting, and I just want to throw up. I feel so horrible, like somebody kicked me in the stomach or something. And then it's like I make myself forget about it, and 4 months later I'll have a Big Mac again.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I eating this every time I say the same thing? So
Well, during the process of eating, though, that mouth pleasure is pretty undeniable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what it is the mouth pleasure that you're getting while you're eating
now,
it.
let me ask you this. One thing I've noticed, and I don't know, I think it's because they do some kind of a different oil or something, but French fries from like McDonald's, Burger King, all these type places has this taste, and I call it kerosene mixed with dirt or something. This aftertaste is so nasty. And I don't know why more people aren't speaking about it. Like, do you just eat these fries like they're good or something? I'm tasting this taste in my mouth is disgusting. It's not old school taste. Like,
Well, they can't fuck with In-N-Out. In-N-Out's got the
no,
greatest
In-N-Out's
fries of all
always
time.
perfect.
Those fries are fresh. That's one of the
and
reasons.
they're it's privately owned. You know, they don't have any freaky oil coming in.
Yeah.
Or,
If you want to go off the diet, In-N-Out's the best way to do it because you could also get it protein style where you get a burger that's just on a lettuce, like the lettuce is on the top.
I've seen that.
Fantastic.
My daughter does
Yeah.
stuff that's not on the menu and stuff like that.
Well, the protein style is just they do lettuce instead of bun. They put lettuce on the outside.
But yeah, they actually have a potato and they put it through.
Yeah,
the
real
cutter.
potato. You can watch them do it.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's totally fresh, and the fries have a completely different taste because of that.
I've heard the reason, this thing I'm talking about where the fries have this aftertaste that's nasty is because the FDA or whatever approved some kind of oil they can use and they reuse it and it's okay or something. It causes this aftertaste that's in more than one franchise, So, and other people I've spoken with have tasted it as well. It's just they don't hate it as much as me.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, most fast food is cooked in the unhealthiest oil. There's an article. Here's an article that was on ABC.com. And they're talking about most French fries served in U.S. restaurants are immersed in corn-based oil, usually considered the worst oil for human health, before they're fried. Corn oil contains copious amounts of saturated fat known to contribute to heart disease. This type of oil is also low in monosaturated fat, which most Americans need more of, and high in polyunsaturated fat, which is in too large quantities can lower HDL, which is your good cholesterol, along with LDL, your bad cholesterol. Oh, it's not.
Did you hear when that the Naked Chef or whatever just tried to boycott McDonald's, saying it's not safe for human consumption?
Who's the Naked Chef?
He's just one of these health chef dudes from England or something. He's a pretty young guy. I thought that was his name.
Naked Chef?
I might have the wrong.
Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver's his name? He calls himself the Naked Chef?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about? Yeah, and he was talking about all these ingredients in McDonald's that were like really bad and not safe for human consumption, and so they changed a bunch of stuff. Like,
well, that's great.
He was successful at
That's great. I mean, I think that, look, there's a lot of things that people eat that they should be allowed to eat things that are unhealthy. I mean, you should be allowed to go to Krispy Kreme donuts. When you're going to Krispy Kreme donuts, if you think that it's healthy, you're a fucking idiot. All right? I mean, if you think you're getting one of those cream-filled, delicious, sugar-coated monstrosities, if you think somehow or another that's good for you, you're a moron. That's on you. I mean, if you're going there and not going to Whole Foods and, getting fresh vegetables, but it should be able to exist because you should be able to go and get a donut if you want one. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a matter of managing your health, matter of managing the input. What's coming in, what's going out. What are you doing for exercise? What are you doing for health? And then if you want on Sunday to throw a fucking ice cream sundae in the mix, whatever. Throw it in there.
You're going to work it off.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's not even working it off. It's just a matter of making sure that the balance of your diet is healthy.
Yeah, I get that, man. That's cool.
And occasionally throw in some, but you could also make healthy choices as far as like what you throw in. You could throw in some better stuff. You can throw in some, there's some terrible things for you. And there's some things that might not be the best thing in the world for you, like pizza with vegetables on it. It might not be the worst thing in the world for you,
right.
but it's not the best thing in the world for you.
Probably because of the the oil and the grease and stuff.
There's
like
a little of that, but really, as long as they use olive oil, it's actually probably good for you. The real thing is the bread, the dough.
We cook with olive oil, so at least I got that
Olive
going.
oil is great for you.
Yeah,
olive oil is fantastic for the body. There's a lot of oils that are healthy. Fish oil is great for you. There's a lot of oils that are coconut oil is very good for you. Raw coconut oil especially is fantastic for you. It's just hard to really educate yourself on what's good and what's bad. That's why, like, if you're thinking about doing it, and I know you got some money, go to a nutritionist, man. Get somebody. Doctor up.
Definitely, I mean, I told myself this year I'm really going to get into some fitness, and I've been doing tons of sit-ups every day. I've been, working with light weights, but I'm kind of, if I was an if I was a hardcore addict, I would be at the point right now where one foot's in the door and one is out. So
Yeah.
I got to get serious. I mean, I really want to. I don't care if I get in a boot camp, do something, but I want to eat right and do all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Why don't you try yoga?
Just feel like amazing. You know, I have done a little bit. I practiced some yoga just on a video, like watching this chick and just doing stuff she's doing, and it's really makes you feel good. The stretching, it's like really cool. I was doing stuff for my lower back, and it was like awesome. I'm going, whoa! It's like it hurts in kind of a, you know, you feel this strain of the stretch. But after you're done with it, you feel there's so much relief in it.
Yes.
Your body.
The release.
The release is so. It's so worth the pain for that release feeling, you know?
The world would be a far better place if people just committed to doing yoga a certain amount of days per week. If the majority of people in this country, just the majority of people listening, just decided, I'm going to do yoga 3 days a week, the world would be a better place. People would be more relaxed. They'd have a better perspective. They'd be more in the moment, better balance. I mean, there's a reason why these skinny Indian dudes have been doing these same poses for thousands of years. There's something to it.
Yeah,
it's hard for
stretching.
us to describe.
I was been told by a guy that done acupuncture for me a couple times. He goes, Mark, you need to move. You need to stretch. You need to walk. You need to do something. You're getting older. And movement is so important for you.
It's huge.
Yeah, because if you're lazy in the sense of just being a couch person that just kind of doesn't have a lot of movement to your life, that's really bad.
Tension.
And so I like to stretch a lot. I don't even jump out of bed. I don't even take chances like that. Like just
Take chances.
with my back. My back's kind of it's a little bit torched. I have to I do a lot of stretches and stuff and.
Is it from an injury or just from guitar? From carrying a guitar?
Yeah, probably a little of that. You know, jumping around the stage for 30 years. You know, I'm sure that's gonna help.
When you play, do you look down like a lot when you're playing?
No,
because
I
you
can
play
pretty much
all.
close my eyes most of the time. Actually,
But do you find your posture like you
maybe
lean down
my posture's
sometimes?
probably not the greatest. My back's not really horrible. It's just sometimes it goes out a little bit, or you know.
I've had some of the worst pain in my back and neck from reading or from writing. Even.
Yeah.
From sitting down and this pose where you're like staring at a keyboard, like the neck forward, the head forward pose is very bad.
The whole balance
You're
thing.
Supposed to.
Yeah, the whole balance thing for me is how things happen to my back. I can be making a sandwich. And something could go on my back. It's never from lifting. I could lift all day and I'm fine. You know, it's always doing some stupid thing that's a balance thing or something.
Yoga, get into it, Mark Kendall.
Okay,
Do it,
buddy.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me where you live.
I'll
After
go.
the show, tell me where you live. Don't say it on the air.
Okay.
People fucking show up at your house.
You know, I wanted to kind of mention our website because when you go there, you can find out if we're playing in your area. It's called officialgreatwhite.com.
Okay.
And we're playing in Hollywood, man, this Sunday.
Oh, cool.
We're playing
Awesome.
in West Virginia on Saturday, and on Sunday we're playing to celebrate the Rainbow Bar and Grill's 42nd anniversary. And
Wow.
We're headlining. This place is legendary. I mean, the
yeah.
Stones have hung out there. I mean, you know, just every Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead is there every day, like playing video games or something. But it has so much history behind this place that I'm really happy to be, you know, headlining the event to celebrate it because it's, you know,
For people who don't know, it really is an iconic
it's a
place.
rock. It's like every band, even if they played the Forum, you know, they would go to the Rainbow. It's just such a known legendary place, you know.
Where are you playing? Are you at the
They're
Rainbow?
doing it in the parking lot in the back, and you can actually, they're allowing people to drink alcohol for, you know, you can't do this unless this is happening. So, you know, so they're allowing, it starts at 2:00. They're having a lot of bands that were from back, you know, even some that haven't made it huge or whatever, you know, but just like that played, you know, the club scene or whatever. I mean, they have a couple that, you know, like the Bullet Boys and Tracy Guns from L.A. Guns or whatever. But there's a lot of local bands playing during the day and stuff, and we're playing West Virginia the night before in an arena with some band, but we got an early flight that day. We're just going to jam out and celebrate with these guys.
Wow, that sounds awesome. That sounds really cool. Yeah, that is a real iconic place. And the food's pretty good there. And 42nd anniversary, if you go there, there's going to be chicks going there.
It's all free.
Were there 42 years ago.
Oh,
the same girls.
Yeah.
They'll show up.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's free. That's cool.
Yeah, it's free because it's just a celebration,
Sam Kinison brought up the Rainbow Bar and Grill in his fucking HBO special.
Everybody's been there. It was just kind of a known. I like the whole Hollywood history. I mean, when our band was playing Hollywood a lot, I have so many good memories from that time because it was the music and the scene was so electric. It was I mean, I played Guitarist once, and the guy painted a picture of me playing my guitar on the side of the building next to like Huey Lewis and the News and Jim Morrison and Eddie Van Halen. I mean, I have so many memories of just not even playing there, just going to Hollywood. I used to go watch bands. I used to go watch Van Halen play. I used to go just hang out, And
that's sort of half the fun of the Rainbow is just being there and seeing all the freaks and all the cool people and all the, the people like, oh, there's that guy. There's Lemmy from Motorhead. There's all these strange characters and rockers and all these people that have been around Hollywood forever.
I don't really know why, it's just, it's right next to the Roxy. It's just...
It's just one of those spots.
It's one of those spots where people just get a good vibe there or something.
Well, that strip is just, the Sunset Strip is just one of the all-time classic spots in Americana. I mean, it just really is. Where the Comedy Store is, the Viper Room is.
It's incredible. And
the whiskey.
And the history of going back to even like days of the Doors, I mean, just to know that they played the Troubadour or even, early days with like Linda Ronstadt, her backup band was like Don Henley and Glenn Fry.
Wow.
That was her backup band, and they went off and made the Eagles or whatever.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it's nuts. The history it goes way beyond the 70s and the 80s. It's like goes back to the 60s and I mean you've got the Doors. Look at how big that band is. They're the type band like that you don't think of them doing regular guy stuff. Like they're to me, when you're a kid and you think of a band and like I know they don't drive through McDonald's like we do. You know what I mean? It's like you think like they're almost alien or something. You know what I mean?
Hasn't that the mystique of that been sort of eroded by the internet? Like there was a thing the other day where Charlie Sheen was having a Twitter beef with his ex-wife,
right?
And
that's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it was that's been. That sort of thing is different now. It's like
it is different.
It used to be when a guy was a big star that they would be sort of living up on a house behind these crazy gates.
You really didn't know what he did.
Yeah, like
now
Elvis
you play a show and you're
Graceland.
on the internet. You're literally in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
people are watching your show. The show you're playing in France, they're watching it in L.A. And you just got done with the show like 2 minutes ago.
Well, and then they get to read your Twitter page. And
when
see what
I was
a
kid,
you are.
when I was a kid, it would literally be this much of an event. It would last all day. I'd go buy like Robin Trower's record, go to my friends. We'd set up everything, man. Get the speakers outside the window and listen to this album over and over and over. Now, kids download 300 songs in 20 minutes before they go to school or in their iPod or whatever. It's just not. It's not as personal as it used to be. But
it's more accessible.
It's more accessible. It's I
There's
read
pros and cons.
I read the article with David Grohl or whatever from
Foo Fighters.
Yeah, Foo Fighters
Nirvana.
And Nirvana, and he makes so much sense to me. Because I went through all these things that he's talking about, which is playing with guys that don't really play that good, and we're jamming in the garage and, pissing off my parents and, and just going through that and improving from there and just getting better, you know, or whatever, instead of people just thrown together with their songs written by somebody else and all that, you know. It's just the some of the human element has been, that's my only complaint. And it's not really a complaint. It's just, I just prefer that people play music and not machines, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the experience of going to the record store and looking at the album art and taking
Love
it
that.
home. And
I love that.
There's
It's like,
definitely something missing.
Why am I driving 200 miles or 150 miles to do a photo shoot when I'm going to be the size of an ant on you know, like a microchip?
Yeah.
But or whatever. But you know, it's not really a complaint. My whole thing is I just want to get our music to the people the best way I can. And if you know your way around the internet, you can get that done. And we just got done off this big monster cruise, and you know, 30 bands on this big ship, and we went and played on an island, and you know, it was like it was great, you know. So I'm not bitter or anything. I know things are different. It's really difficult on major labels, you know, because we can go record our next album at your house on your computer.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think that puts a lot of power in the artist's hands, though, and
sure does.
it also puts a lot of power in their ability to promote themselves. All they need is the internet now.
Exactly.
And all those other closed-off avenues, like we were talking about, getting on the Ed Sullivan Show was everything to a guy like Rodney Dangerfield.
Sure.
If you couldn't get on the Ed Sullivan Show, you were fucked. Today, for a comic especially, boy, you don't need that at all. I mean, my friends who have become famous from the internet, like Joey Diaz and Ari Shaffir and Duncan Trussell, they've only had the internet. The internet is all they ever needed. But all they needed was talent and an avenue.
In my days, I needed a staple gun and the posters and Sunset Boulevard
to get people to come out. And then they had to see the
put them up on
poster
the telephone
and be
poles.
excited by it. Like,
No,
great
then another
white.
band comes by and they put it over ours.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you got to
that
go
was
put
classic.
yours over theirs.
The wars of posters.
It's still the wars. Dude.
Yeah. Well, there's internet wars now. You know, there's definitely a lot of that. There's still a lot of fucking morons out there when it comes to that kind of stuff. But But I think it's definitely a better time as far as putting the power in the hands of the artists and these people that are the normal cabal that were controlling the music industry. They've lost a lot of their power, right?
Oh, yeah, and you know the difference now is we don't need millions of dollars to record and all that kind of promotion. And that's why that the major labels are suffering a bit. And yeah, where the power comes in is we're no longer are we just getting our little points, you know, where they're taking, you know, we make $1 million, the record company gets, you know, 900 and whatever, and you know they throw our crumbs, enough crumbs to where we don't like go away, but you know.
But people don't realize that. For most folks, they'd have no idea like how bad the deals were.
Yeah.
Especially
Van Halen's deal was amazingly bad, and they even speak about it on the internet. You can go on and they sit together and they're actually interviewing each other about the old days. You know, people think we're the bitch and rock stars, but we were literally broke. They said that their checks per week, this is during the first album, were $88.83 or something.
Yeah, and they were selling millions of albums.
Yeah,
millions.
Okay, here's the funny part. They got off this tour, and the record company said, "You owe us $2 million." And he goes, "Okay, let me get this straight." So if we do 10 tours and sell 20 million records, we're going to owe you $20 million?
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just from all the loans and the first coming out of the gate. But
well, it's also just a corrupt system
it
has
is.
too much power.
It's corrupt in being the artist when you don't have your own representation and you know, you just want to do anything to break out of this club scene. You know, you want to be a big band on big tours, and so they take bad deals. You know, a lot of bands have done that. You know, they've done successful with their album sales, but their business side of it is really horrid. You know.
Yeah, that's also the difference between a business person and an artist. Like a lot of artists are impulsive, and they're just not that good at things like that. They're not that
They're
good
not.
at business.
And I'm one of them. Our deal wasn't great either, and but we've kind of made up for that. It wasn't our whole career, but at the beginning, it wasn't that great. But
well, it's sad. It always starts off. Nobody ever says, "Oh, we got an awesome deal right out of the gate, and we were very fortunate to be with an ethical record company."
Right.
No, it's just you talk about the fucking scoundrels that signed you.
Right.
I mean, that's also you think about a music company. How many people do they sign? I mean, they might sign 100, and one of them might become Great White. You know, there's a lot of failure involved on their end too.
Oh,
The
sure.
prognostication
oh yeah,
doesn't always pan out.
that's what they call their write-offs. The write-off bands. But yeah.
Yeah, but for a band that's successful, the reality behind it. Did you ever read that piece that Courtney Love wrote on the music business? She wrote a pretty incredible piece about explaining the expenses and how much it actually costs and what an artist actually gets paid and how much the studio gets paid and how they go about saying how much things are worth.
I haven't read the piece, but I'm glad she wrote something like that because it'll school the audience on,
Yeah, it's
on
pretty
stuff that's not their business.
pretty incredible stuff.
Just kidding.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of that, but it's also
It's
some of their
educational.
business. Yeah.
People will understand that. We work really hard, and we're not just walking around, zillionaires or.
Were you
whatever.
bummed out when the whole Napster thing came along and people started downloading MP3s and it just almost immediately sort of took the wind out of the sails of records?
I was bummed out even before that a little bit, but I know me, like I was talking about earlier, that I'm a fan of music and I like to support the artists. I go out and buy their albums. I want the artwork. I want to know who wrote the songs. I want to know where they recorded this album. I just think that's part of it, and it's what makes the world go round in music is to support the artist. So I go out and buy a ZZ Top CD, and But when somebody comes up and go, "Hey man, I just got your new album. I copied it from my friend," it's like, well, thanks. At least he's gonna maybe give me some feedback if he likes it or not.
Or hopefully he'll go see you live.
I'll go see us live or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. It is what I'm not going to say that phrase.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we're changing. The world is changing around us. Technology is forcing us to change, and we have to adapt. But the most important thing is you're still creating. You're still doing what you love. You're still doing what you're doing. And then the commerce aspect of it has to morph. It has to morph to accommodate this new environment that we live in. But the environment is so beneficial in so many other ways. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
It has to change.
Yeah.
There's no way you're not going to have the world change when something like the internet comes along. So all these other
There's no way.
But I think the benefits way outweigh the negatives, in my opinion.
Definitely. And our fans are loyal too. I mean, we go over to, Sweden or, Switzerland or whatever, and they're all there in front of the stage, So we are blessed in that way. I mean, no matter what happens in the industry, our fans have always hung, so it's like,
Well, that's because you guys appreciate it. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it.
We are grateful for our fans, and I always tell them that. And in the days when we were playing arenas every night, it's very difficult. The constructed meet and greets, we can only meet a few, and you really can't go out and say, hey, invite 20,000 people backstage for the party, But we've really taken advantage of being able to hear their stories, man. I mean, I'm talking like stories that I don't remember. I mean, people doing my laundry and they gave me a ride here or they were in this certain place or this guy got married to this song or, got laid because, your song, this one, or, what I mean? It's just the stories are endless and
how you personally affected these people.
Yeah. I mean, if our music is involved in people's life on like that, because I can relate because like I was saying earlier, I literally have visuals when I hear certain songs, like I remember where I was, how old I was, what I was doing, almost like the smell that was in the air practically, And so when people come up and have a similar story about music that my band was involved in, it's like, you have to feel like that's a pretty tall compliment, to just be involved with that.
Absolutely. Mark Kendall, you're an awesome guy, man. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks,
it's been a lot
Joe.
of fun. Been great having you on.
Thanks for having me, man.
We're going to play some pool now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, buddy.
Very exciting.
Okay.
We got to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. Thanks for
And
really
Official
enjoyed
Great
it.
White is the website.
Yeah,
right?
officialgreatwhite.com and .com, and our Facebook is Great White Band.
And Mark Kendall _GW is the Twitter page where you can get a hold of Mark.
Yeah.
KENDALL _GW. Thank you
Right.
very much, sir.
That's it.
Lots
Thanks,
of
brother.
fun. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the podcast. We'll be back. We'll actually be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow with one of the co-founders of Reddit. His name is Alex. How do you say the last name?
Ohanian? I think.
Ohanian. 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 I get that must be it. Alex Ohanian, one of the co-founders of Reddit. He'll be on tomorrow, and then next week, lots and lots and lots of guests, and lots of guests the week after that. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks to audible.com. Go to audible.com/Joe for a free audio book and 30 free days of Audible service. And thanks also to onnit.com. That's ONNIT. Use the code word Rogan and save 10% off any and all supplements. Much love, my friends. See you tomorrow.